Yeah, live from Buffettpalooza. Oh, you're already deflated. Yet another Manic Monday edition of Business Pants, joined by the Lord of the BS, Matt Moscardi. In today's throaty ESG gag, I don't mean joke, I mean like throat gag, like, or is that more like, called May 8th, 2023, Sexy Story Update, Sexy Warren Buffett, and Sexy Board Sabermetrics.
Yeah, in that order.
Well, actually, it's an apropos adjective today because the lead story really does talk about America's favorite and least favorite sexy CEOs.
Really?
Yeah. Want to just get into it?
I don't know. I already don't know what to think about this. Look, I want to say this, though. If you didn't go to Buffettpalooza.
I didn't.
When you walk into Buffettpalooza, I want our show to be like that. When you walk into Buffettpalooza, right at the front, welcoming you there is a giant sign that says Berkshire 8th Annual General Meeting 2023, Omaha, Nebraska, USA. It's all in this wavy 70s font.
I looked up the design firm that created that. It's a female-led firm for women.
Ooh, I like
in
this.
Omaha, Nebraska. So Warren Buffett, I think Warren Buffett not only is, yes, folksy, but he's also woke.
I like
it.
Everything you just said. But
I think the thing that's most hard to believe is I actually looked up the design firm.
I know that.
I did.
That's the research you only get here. That's really only. But what struck me about it is, and why I want our show to be this, is when you walk in, there's a VW bus with flowers.
That's nice.
On it as a giant sign. When you think Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger?
Yes, and I do quite often.
Do you think of a flower-covered VW bus, or maybe buying massive shares of Bank of America and Apple?
Well, you know what I think of? I think of a windowless dorm.
Right. This had way too many windows on it.
I'm already seeing 5 more windows than the dorm that Charlie Munger designed for California University. Yeah.
This show like a window-covered VW bus at the entrance of Buffettpalooza. How about that?
Well, I may be able to help out with that because my lead story is sort of adjacent to a flower-covered van.
I want to know where this is going. Bring me into your lead story.
Matt, believe it or not, America's favorite failed blonde CEOs are in the news today.
More than one?
Multiple. They both showed up over the weekend and today. There's not a lot going on in the business news. I have no idea why. It's basically eLIZabeth Holmes and Warren Buffett. But also former Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer.
Oh, yeah.
Snuck in. And I'll get to that. I'll get to that second. But by far the biggest story of the day is eLIZabeth Holmes.
I can't believe it's not King Charles.
Well, you have a point there. You know where King Charles shows up in our world is in our part of our headline drag, and it is a drag in more way than one.
I know you hate it.
Under the category, we do a Google news searches for several categories. He shows up in climate change, and it's usually a headline like, is this idiot actually blah blah blah? I don't know.
No, it's also false because didn't he have to disavow talking about climate change?
Well, it's like hand-wringing stories about what the king will and won't help.
My favorite part, not to derail us on coronation, but my favorite part, I watched like 30 seconds of video of it.
Okay, got me beat by 30.
It was just after they declare him king or whatever they're doing. There's a lot of people, a lot of costumes. They tried to put the crown on his head.
Tried?
Well, it looked like it was a little too small.
Oh, they didn't measure.
Set it up, and then they had to kind of like alter it, and then at one point the guy like pushed a little bit on his head. You see like
it's made out of thorns, isn't it?
9,000-year-old King Charles like get his head pushed down a little bit, and then back up and look and make sure it's not falling off, because it would be embarrassing and expensive for that thing to fall off.
Do you think his first thought was like, "Oh, like cool, I get to finally go any direction on the checkerboard. I can like jump anywhere."
He was, yeah. Well, yes. Camilla was more like that because she can move everywhere on the chessboard.
All right. Speaking of coronations
and queens,
the news Friday, Matt, was that somehow Elizabeth Holmes delayed her prison sentence. She had a last-second appeal.
Okay.
She's due to serve.
Does not like that.
Due to serve about 11 and a half years in a federal prison. So she's delaying it a little bit more once again, but from all reports I'm reading, good luck with that.
Yeah, she's going to prison. But
yeah,
she's not Elizabeth Holmes anymore.
Okay, here we go. So believe it or not, the biggest story in the business news is based off a New York Times piece over the weekend called "Liz Holmes Wants You to Forget About Elizabeth. The black turtlenecks are gone, so is the voice. As the convicted Theranos founder awaits prison, she has adopted a new persona, devoted mother." So, Matt, I tried my hardest. Unfortunately, I read the whole stupid article. I think it was, as somebody pointed out, it was like 90 paragraphs, 95 paragraphs. Okay, and I tried to formulate some kind of business pants story. I tried to be clever. But I gave up because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't add anything to this stupid thing. So. Instead, I'm going to let the headlines do the talking. I collected a bunch of headlines from the internet, and I'll let them describe this article for you, Matt.
That's better.
Okay.
And it's not only is it better, but there was a Vivek story that ran over in the Times this weekend.
No.
And I wish the headlines just took care of that one because I didn't want to read that one either.
We could do that Wednesday, maybe.
Let's not do it
if I allow it. Here we go.
They didn't mention business pants, so what do I care?
So we'll start at the top. As I already said, meet the new Elizabeth Holmes. She ditched the turtlenecks, abandoned the weird voice, and wants you to call her Liz. Okay.
The weird voice, yeah.
Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes delays prison time and awaits appeal in her Del Mar beach house. That sounds nice.
Okay. That sounds delightful.
Elizabeth Holmes spent 6 months in RV sleeping in Walmart parking lots.
Okay. Let's back up.
Wait, don't forget, before you say anything, Walmart, according to all our anti-woke friends, Walmart is woke now.
Yeah, that's true. So they're harboring
careful what you
criminals.
say. Be careful what you say.
Well, all I'm going to say is that it makes it sound like she was like a hobo when
it does.
I'm pretty sure she's not a hobo.
Elizabeth Holmes giggles.
That's deep analysis right there.
Elizabeth Holmes giggles about the infamously deep voice she once used, and even her partner mocks it.
Okay. No.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this. Another headline says yes, that Elizabeth Holmes' voice was fake. Is this investor fraud, Matt? Is the voice itself, could that get you into prison?
I love this.
Is that shareholder manipulation?
Let's ask the investors, was it investor fraud?
Right?
It was. Look at that.
But why couldn't you make that case? Why couldn't you make the case that it could have inflated market value of that company?
I'm pretty sure we're going to see that investor lawsuit sometime. Like the investors are going. They already won the lawsuit to get their money back or recoup as much as they could and send her to prison. The consumers of the healthcare products that arguably put their lives in danger got nothing. But the voice is definitely going to get legs.
I just don't know why she's admitting it now. Glowing Elizabeth Holmes profile in New York Times draws fury online.
Do you think it was glowing?
Got conned just like her board, it says. New York Times blasted over puff piece on convicted fraudster Elizabeth Holmes. Nice to be a pretty white lady. That's what the headline said. This headline says, cute. New York Times helps Elizabeth Holmes launder her reputation before prison. Elizabeth Holmes torched an effigy for Theranos at Burning Man. What is it? What
is she doing at Burning Man?
I don't know. I don't know what's that all about.
You know, there are psychological studies that show when you like take on drugs and alcohol or get obsessed about a thing or have like mental health problems at a young age, it often can stunt your growth. She does seem to have come out of this cloud of, I never got college. I never even really did high school. I was so obsessed with stuff. Maybe she's just doing it all now. She's going to Burning Man. She's riding in RVs.
The story actually does suggest that, yes, she never actually matured emotionally.
In which case, the real takeaway should be never fetishize your 20-year-old founders because they're not complete humans yet.
Speaking of which, remember we had talked about Adam Newman, how he continues to fail up in every direction now as a founder of a new company. How about this last headline? eLIZabeth Holmes said she still believes Theranos could have revolutionized healthcare and is working on new inventions. I still feel the same calling to it. So I ask you, Matt, who will be the VC firm that gives her cash? Anybody?
Well, Mark Andreessen gave the largest investment Mark Andreessen's firm has ever made, gave it to Adam Newman for his next post-failure
adventure.
Is that true?
I forgot about that.
That is true. That's true. So, I mean, call him. Like, there's money out there to be had for you.
I want money for us here at Free Flow LLC.
Yeah, we can't get $1. What the hell?
A few reactions. Former CNN host Soledad O'Brien wrote, "Nice to be a pretty white lady working your charm on a New York Times reporter." It's just more like this. More stuff like this, right?
Yeah, it seems a lot of outrage. Why are we outraged?
There's a lot of outrage. I like this one weird thing. I don't know why this tickled me, but there's some outrage from Todd Schulte. He's the president of Forward.us, FWD.us, which is a political advocacy group co-founded by Mark Zuckerberg and Joe Green, who was the Face Mash co-founder at Harvard with Mark Zuckerberg. He co-founded Face Mash, the predecessor of Facebook. They founded a political advocacy group. The president of that group weighed in on this story, talking about, he says, media outlets make choices every day on how they cover people in the criminal justice system, blah, blah, blah. His point was, you're making her sound like a normal person, which is fine, but make all the other convicted criminals look like normal people. Because, he's an advocate for criminal justice reform, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I just thought it was great that Mark Zuckerberg and Face Mash co-founder Joe Green co-founded a political advocacy group and somehow snuck into this eLIZabeth Holmes story.
And then somehow had comments about a young founder who fucks up half the universe, right?
And by the way, this is original reporting. You're only going to find this here. No one else covered this. This looked into the founders of Forward.us. Okay, nobody cares.
Yeah. Wow.
Moving on. Nice. That's anything you want to wrap up with eLIZabeth Holmes?
God, do we have to? I mean, it just seems like does seem like the reporter for the New York Times fell into the same thing that all the old white guys on her board fell into. And that's right?
and that's what a lot of the post reporting has been, is that she fell into her gaze.
And I don't know why we are so outraged about it, because she's going to jail for 11 years.
I think we're outraged about it because it's because the New York Times. Is that right?
But it was a puffy piece.
I know, but it's still the New York Times. The last line of the article, there's a reporter screaming about this. The last line of the article, the reporter says, "If you are in her presence, it is impossible not to believe her, not to be taken with her, and be taken in by her." This is a journalist talking.
Yeah.
From the New York Times.
I think I would not have that problem.
Yeah. Okay, before we get on to our next story, our next infamous blonde CEO that America loves to hate, I want to talk briefly. I did a little bit of a mini ESG dive on eLIZabeth Holmes' partner, Billy Evans.
Oh.
Because no one ever talks about the guy who gave her 2 children, who she's using to try to get out of prison.
There was no ESG ratings firm right now who's rating eLIZabeth Holmes' current partner.
Here it is. Billy Evans. He's an heir to a chain of hotels in San Diego, California. Okay, of course.
Okay. already don't like it.
The New York Times article said that he took a few calls for work while she was visiting. The reporter asked him what he does, and he answered, "A lot of different stuff. Investing, starting companies," he replied without elaborating.
Wow.
Yeah. This might be exactly what's wrong with everything.
I can't figure out how we got here.
So his family has a company called the Evans Hotel Group, and I did a little bit of a mini ESG dive on them. Matt, in a city that is only 42% white, all 11 of Evans Hotel Group leaders are white. That's kind of cool.
Wow.
100%.
Well, I mean,
that's nice.
Look, you still had 42% of the white population to choose from. So.
And in their CSR section on their website, which talks about their employees, there's a picture of their employees. There are 23 on their own website. They did this. 0% of them are white.
Wow.
So, I don't know. I just thought it was fun.
Wait, 0% white?
0% of the 23 employees pictured on the Evans Hotel Group CSR section website are white.
So they're all people of color.
All people of color, and yet I'm just saying. I'm just trying to make a. I'm not. No judgment, Vivek. I'm not making a judgment here. ESG data doesn't have judgment. I'm just presenting the facts that I see.
If you were to judge it, you might call it the white ceiling.
I might call it the white ceiling. Who impregnated?
Call it.
Yeah, Elizabeth Holmes. And anyway, blah blah blah. Let's get off of that.
Wait, is he blonde too? Please make him blonde.
He looks like a surfer dude.
Oh, so probably blonde. I love it.
All right. And then Marissa Meyer? Why can't I remember this?
I think it's Meyer.
Ex-Yahoo CEO Marissa Meyer showed up again somehow in the press. The headline is that Meyer admits spending $4 billion for Netflix would have been a better transformative acquisition than Tumblr.
Oh, really? Nailed that analysis. There's nothing better than a good hindsight analysis.
No, she did say, in fact, she said she had a chance to buy Netflix or Hulu. She said either of those, with hindsight being 2020, would have been a better acquisition.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah. I told my mom the other day when I was 20 and like Google IPO'd or whatever, maybe I was 24. I don't remember where. I thought, man, I should have bought that IPO, and that would have been smart. So we're both right.
I'm going to jump to my last story.
Is that really what we're going to... That's how she snuck in?
Yeah. Well, the business news, they had to drag her one more time. It's almost like someone didn't know what else to say about Elizabeth Holmes. They're like, oh, why don't I make fun of Marissa Meyer one more time for the road?
It is sad that every time she comes up, she's the punchline of her own joke.
I know, but the business news, they do, instead of like celebrating any success, they do like to make fun of her. I'm just pointing it out. They do.
It's just her, though. It's like her and Liz Holmes.
Exactly. It's the two tech Silicon Valley blonde CEOs.
Where's my Adam Newman takedowns? Every time Adam Newman opens his mouth,
you're right.
How come there's not like 400 things about what he said?
Thank you. You're making my point for me. Speaking of due diligence, I just want to quickly add this. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman tweeted this over the weekend. I don't know why he tweeted this, but it just made me think of Elizabeth Holmes and all the VC bros throwing out money to all their buddies. He said, being a VC is so easy, so high status, the money is so great, and the lifestyle is so fun. Very dangerous trap that many super talented builders never escape from until they eventually look back on it all and say, damn, I'm so unfulfilled.
What am I supposed to do with that?
I don't know.
Did he just say, life is awesome, it's super fun, but also I feel unfulfilled by my life? Like, what is he saying? Is he talking about VCs that he works with, himself as a VC?
I don't know. He goes on to say that investing is an amazing, very part-time job.
Wow.
And a soul-sucking full-time job. But those mountains in Aspen aren't going to ski themselves. That party in Saint-Tropez isn't going to enjoy itself. That kiteboard on Necker Island needs someone to fly it, etc.
Oh, That actually, that's the problem most Americans have.
Yeah.
The kiteboard, someone on
I don't even know where Necker Island is.
Someone needs to fly that.
Finally.
And that's the guy who is in charge of the thing that is 10 to 20% likely to cause the doom of humanity.
And these are the people who are funding all the things that doom our humanity.
Really? Yeah. Fantastic news.
And finally, the other big and boring news of the day, and here's my Buffettpalooza segue for you, Matt, because I know you compiled a bunch of stuff about Warren Buffett. I love this headline. Buffett is 100% comfortable with choice of Greg Abel as Berkshire CEO successor. That sounds like a dig, doesn't it?
Can you
100% comfortable?
If he was like, I am 83% comfortable with Greg Abel, that would have been a much better thing to say.
But to me, just using the word comfortable is, I'm guessing, going to make some shareholders feel a little uneasy. We should take bets about when he dies. What will happen to the share price? How much of a dive will it take?
80%?
The post Buffett death effect.
No, because they own a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, so you don't think it's going to take a dive?
It's going to take a while before they're going to wait for the first screw up, Greg Abel, like his first bad investment. Then it's like, oh, the Buffett glow is over.
Also, before I hand it off to you, I looked at the 2023 Berkshire Hathaway Shareholders Guide. It's posted on their website.
Okay.
Do you want to take a guess what page 10 of the guide is? Page 10.
It's got to be an advertisement. Is it an advertisement?
Essentially, it is. I imagine it's one of their holdings. But all it is simply, Matt, page 10, Dairy Queen locations.
Yes, that is an advertisement. They do own Dairy Queen.
There's 8 Dairy Queens in the Omaha area. But that's page 10. That's ahead of a lot of important stuff. I'm just saying.
Well, look, you put the most important stuff in the appendix now anyway. There's plenty of room for Dairy Queen.
All right, that's your handoff.
Dairy Queen. It was over the weekend, folksy white-haired billionaire who isn't dead yet, but we're worried soon will be convention time. Yeah. Every single year we get the same convention.
It's kind of boring this year, though, right, Matt? It felt
the Berkshire AGM, it was a bit boring this year. Except for, they primed you for a little bit of the vibe, like wishing it was 1977 with the opening VW. Here is some of the highlights that I could find. And I'm going to tell you right now, they weren't that interesting. Okay. So stick with us.
Just like the first half of the show.
On the succession plan. Well, first of all, he opens the ceremony on like minute 7. He says like hello, and then he mentions that like there was a coronation this weekend, but we have King Charles right here, and points to Munger, and everybody's like ha 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 ha. How folksy, King Charles, that's funny. But he then introduces his board.
Yep.
And starts with Howard Buffett and Susie Buffett, his children.
Okay.
And finishes the introductions by saying that's about as good as it can get about ostensibly a board.
Okay.
That's as good as it gets.
Including the 2 children.
Including his children who are on the board.
Yeah.
And also, not to mention that the rest of the board is rounded out by Greg Abel, his successor, Ajit Jain, Abel's Charlie Munger. Right. Warren and Munger are on the board. So, like, that's as good as it gets. Basically, everybody votes with me. His succession plan, he's already said Greg. He said Greg will succeed me. He will be sitting in this position. In a position where he is, or his equivalent, or something close to his equivalent, because he is better at many things than I have been. And then says Ajit Jain is his successor. So he's already naming 2 successors.
You got to wonder the ego on this man. Why not let Greg take over while he has a few breaths left? He could stay as executive chair. Why not do this now? What the hell is he waiting for?
Why?
He's still going to be in charge, Matt. According to our data, he owns like all the friggin' influence.
Yeah.
Why not do Greg a friggin' favor? Why not do the shareholders a favor? Why not give him a big boy seat and let him, get some reps in?
First of all, how dare you?
Okay.
And second of all, you think that's it? Buffett didn't say Greg Abel is my successor. He also said Ajit Jain is his successor. He named both successors.
He double cheeseburgered his successors?
He did. He's a double cheeseburger.
Whoa, that's weird. That's just plain weird.
And actually, when you look in the proxy, my favorite part is they're paid the exact same amount. Both Abel and Jane are paid the exact same amount in salary. They both made about $19 million last year.
Yeah, but that was all in Dairy Queen vouchers, I should add.
Well, at the 8 locations in Omaha, there's plenty of places to spend it. So
actually, just a note, I think those vouchers are good globally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in case
wow.
they're traveling.
But then sadly, in the NEO table, you have Buffett and Munger, who both take like $100,000 salary a year. Mm-hmm. Abel and Jane, who make $19 million. Now, first of all, they're going to have to give some of that up, right? Like we're used to the $100,000. You don't get $19 million. You have to take the Buffett discount.
Right.
And then there's sad old Mark D. Hamburg, senior vice president / CFO, mm-hmm. who made us $3.5 million.
Oh.
Poor guy can't get a break. He never gets mentioned. He's not even the second successor.
Not even the fourth, fifth.
He's not even. He makes 1/3 with the other two guys.
Oh.
What's the point of you? Sorry, buddy.
I feel bad about that.
It's like sad day for that guy. Next up, they go on to talk about here's a smattering of things that Buffett folksed about, including AI, where Munger's hot take on AI was we're going to see a lot more robotics in the world, said that, and then said, personally skeptical of some of the hype in AI, I think old-fashioned intelligence works pretty well.
That should solve it.
That's it. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned intelligence. On folksy investment with Apple, which is one of his larger positions. I think it's like 6% of the overall portfolio and like 30% of the publicly traded portfolio. Buffett says, quote, I don't understand the phone at all, but I do understand consumer behavior.
Wait, what? Okay, slow down a second. First of all, I don't really know what's not to understand about the phone. And second of all, isn't most of Apple's consumer behavior wrapped around the phone? Like,
well,
isn't that their flagship product?
That's so it makes it so folksy and interesting. He's leaning into the I'm an old guy who just look at all the buttons on this thing. How does it work? But I do know that people will buy it, because he went on to say Apple has a position with consumers where they're paying $1,500 or whatever, pretending like he doesn't know, or whatever for it may be a phone.
Okay.
And the same people pay $35,000 for having a second car. And if they had to give up a second car or give up their iPhone, they give up the second car. I mean, it's an extraordinary product. Okay. Do you know anybody who would give up a car for the iPhone?
No, I'd get a Galaxy.
Buy an Android phone, right? It's not that hard.
This leads me to my second favorite headline, The Great Oracle. This is very simple and I like this, very right to the point. Apple is a better business than any of Berkshire Hathaway's companies, Warren Buffett says.
Yeah, that's what he did say that. Yeah.
Shocked. Yeah. I'm shocked that somebody would think Apple is a good company. I'm really shocked.
I mean, like, it's supposed to be like high praise coming from the Oracle of Omaha that someone made a better business.
It's not Sea Candies. What's it called? Sea Candies?
Seas Candies.
Yeah, it's not that one.
It's not Geico.
It's not Dairy Queen even with the hard. And they have that like magic shell that hardens on which is pretty damn amazing, right? The chocolate hardens right on the soft serve.
I mean, it's almost impossible to imagine.
Yeah. That's old-fashioned intelligence. Yeah.
They didn't use AI for that. And then on Elon Musk, he had this to say.
Here we go.
Elon Musk overestimates himself, but he is very talented. That's Munger saying that.
Okay, that sounds like that's like a little bit of a shot, a little bit of praise. Yeah.
He also says he likes taking on the impossible job and doing it, but followed that with Warren and I look for the easy job that we can identify.
Okay.
So a little shot here, a little happy there. And then Munger chimed in, we don't want that much failure.
Yeah.
So that's where it all came down.
Yeah. I saw, speaking of failure, I saw a report over the weekend. Elon Musk's Boring Company is now unveiling potential plans for a tunnel in Las Vegas with 69 stops. This is just for cars, Matt. I mean, really, he's just putting another road beneath the ground. This is an innovation? What about putting a subway down there or something? Like,
Wasn't the Big Dig like in Boston?
Yeah.
The Boring Company before the Boring Company?
I guess any highway submerged subterraneally.
Anytime you take a road and put it underground, that's the innovation.
Yeah.
That's the innovation. Munger had this to say about the carbon energy transition.
Oh, okay. I've been waiting for this
Some questions
quote,
about carbon. So we got ESG-ish here. Munger said there have been some false claims about climate change.
Okay, such as?
Didn't elaborate. Just said there have been some false claims.
The Earth is round. Yeah.
But the energy transition makes sense. And here's some of the reasoning. Even if we weren't worried about global warming, it would make sense to shift to renewables to conserve our hydrocarbons.
Hey, Munger's agreeing with me. Yeah, this is what I say. I say, why not? Just build some shit and sell it. Who cares?
And I like that the idea is to just conserve the hydrocarbons.
Well,
why use them all? We can conserve them.
But wasn't that the OG of ESG was conservation? Wasn't that the original environmental movement? God, the crowd is really into Charlie today.
They're
really into Charlie.
Into this. Yeah, listen to that. And wait, save your applause because he said, quote, there's certain things hydrocarbons can do that nothing else can do. And there's only so much of them there. Why be cautious in conserving them? As in, we should be cautious in conserving them.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Got very confusing right there.
He is 99 after all.
I know he is. And he's not nearly as folksy as Warren, so he gets a little confused.
If anything, he's angry.
Two more here, just quotes from the thing. On bank executives.
Ooh, yes.
Warren did say, quote, if you run a bank and screw it up and you're still a rich guy and the world goes on, that's not a good lesson to teach people.
I agree with Warren there.
Yeah, except the fact is,
joke's
on you because one of their biggest investments and most profitable ones is Bank of America.
No, I don't believe that.
With Brian Moynihan, who made a tremendous amount of money coming out of the financial crisis. So, congrats.
I'm going to overlook that fact.
The world went on, apparently. And then, finally, on the social media meme bank runs, which is the bank runs. Yes. Let's be clear. There's not a bank structural problem. There's just social media. There's
a world structural problem.
Yeah, there's everybody else structural problem, which Buffett sums up nicely by saying, quote, that's the world we live in.
Oh.
It means that a lighted match can turn into a conflagration or be blown out.
I don't see. Wow. This is stuff I don't want to hear.
Wow. That is deep.
But he's not wrong, though. Deep. That's the thing. He's not wrong.
I just feel like I've been enlightened.
It's the source of all my anxiety,
Let's do a little Board Sabermetrics.
Finally.
Here's a little Board Sabermetrics on Berkshire. You ready?
Board Sabermetrics being our flagship product here at Free Flow LLC. Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't know what Board Sabermetrics is, you are on the outside looking in at what everybody else is into.
Window shopping. Now. You're window shopping in ESG 2.0 land.
Yeah. So what we do is we create something called influence for every single director on every single board across the entire world over the last 5 years. We have a percentage. You think of 10 people get in a room, they're yelling at each other about what they should do. We say the percentage of the pie of decision making that they own. Am I going to listen to you? Let's say you and I are in a room. Who's got the most influence?
Depends on who has the biggest Dairy Queen cone. That's where I'm looking.
That's definitely you.
That's
so
where I'm
you have
looking.
80% of the influence between the two of us, I would say.
Okay.
Well, Buffett himself,
Here we go. Speaking of Dairy Queen.
66% of the influence of the Berkshire Hathaway board.
Of course.
And this is
not including his two kids, right? That's him alone.
The paragon of corporate governance has included Munger, Ajit, Abel, Buffett's daughter, and his son on the same board. Collectively, Buffett and the Buffett acolytes command 83% of the influence. That makes it amongst the highest in the world. It's like an Adani board.
I mean, the good news here is I saw a report that the Berkshire board, all the board members not named Warren Buffett, are some of the world's best Candy Crush players. Do you know that? They really excel at Candy Crush. It's good news.
Really? Here's why.
Yeah.
This number, if you want to put it in context, if you want to know why people are have been freaking out about whose successor is.
Yeah.
For years, it's because when your influence is that high, if Buffett were to say die.
Okay, well, I would assume
eventually, someday.
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Right? The power vacuum would just be massive.
Wow. Imagine that sound.
Yeah, it would be like the whooshing sound of the alien getting sucked out in Alien.
Yes, absolutely.
Into the atmosphere.
It's frightening.
How does Buffett get his influence? He gets it basically in a couple of ways. There's something that we measure influence as resume, as role on your board, structure, and connectivity.
According to our methodologies.
According to our methodology.
Yep.
This is all backstopped by like over 50 academic studies, all different studies.
And if you want any of this, reach out to us.
He gets the majority of his influence from structural influence. He basically is the founder. He's basically the founder. He's not technically the founder, but he's basically the founder. He's got large shareholdings. It's a dual class structure. He owns over 30% of the vote. And he's basically turned it into a semi-family firm with family owning bits of the vote and consolidation of power amongst them and insiders all on the board. That's how Warren gets all of his power on the Berkshire board.
Yeah, Warren is really he's the grandfather of founder fetish, no? He's like Mark Zuckerberg's godfather.
That's exactly right. He's the OG founder fetish.
Yeah. And the reason why we don't do a huge amount of hand-wringing with the tech founders is because they're all like teenagers and they're not going to die for a long time. So we don't have to worry about that giant sucking sound of a power vacuum when they die.
That's correct.
But at Berkshire Hathaway, actually, we do have to worry about that.
The only thing we have to worry about with the youngins, not the oldins, is that the youngins go to jail.
Yeah, and they also kind of ruin the world.
There's that too. Yeah. There's that side benefit. Yeah. So here's what I'll end you with. I'll end you with a question.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Buffett dies and Munger survives.
Right. Not according to my prediction, they're going to die within about 2 weeks of each other. But go ahead.
Let's just pretend.
Let's pretend.
If you were to do a scenario analysis, who now runs Berkshire? How does Berkshire get run?
Do you know the answer to this?
This is the cliffhanger for next week.
Okay.
We're going to run a scenario analysis, and we're going to tell you when Buffett dies, if Munger survives, who has the most influence on the board?
We're going to assume that there's no external new director. It's just going to be how does the influence percentage, how does the pie get redistributed?
How does it get redistributed the day he's dead?
Oh, wow, this is the kind of stuff I like.
And now we're going to see, is it Munger who's running this company until he dies? Is it
the Buffett kids?
Right to Abel? Or is it a family firm? Is it basically the Buffett kids who keep running it until Munger's dead? How does this happen? That is what we've got coming.
I love it.
Have you ever heard a better cliffhanger in a podcast?
I mean, unfortunately, I co-host the show, and I'm probably the only person who is excited by this, but... I actually am excited by this.
And nobody. That's all we got. That's Damon Morales. I'm Matt Muscardi. We are free float. If you want to know the answer sooner to that cliffhanger, just call us. We'll run it. We'll give you the data. We'll show you what it's like. You can see what influence looks like. And otherwise, tomorrow's Corporate Theater, and then Wednesday's Woke Wednesday, and we'll see you then. Goodbye.